Imagine standing in the pouring rain at a blood-stained execution stand, watching a boy smile in the face of certain death, unaware that the shadows around you hold the secrets of a century.
Oh, that is exactly the atmosphere we're dealing with here.
Right, we're plunging directly into the immersive cinematic universe of the One Piece live-action Season 2. But I want to be clear right up front. If you are expecting a simple recap of, who showed up and what they did, you are in the wrong place.
Yeah, definitely in the wrong place.
We are slowing everything down today. We really want to look at the architecture of this adaptation. We are meticulously examining 7 unexpected cameos and hidden visual details that don't just decorate the background. They completely recontextualize the emotional core of this story.
Because what the showrunners are doing here is, it's actually a masterclass in structural adaptation.
Oh.
When you are translating a 25-year-long sprawling manga into a live-action television series, you face a really unique problem. The original creator built the rooms of this massive narrative house one by one over decades,
Piece by piece.
Exactly. But the television showrunners, they already have the blueprints for the finished mansion. They know exactly where the story is going. So rather than pretending the end game doesn't exist, they are laying the foundation for the penthouse while still building the ground floor.
Right, they're taking massive late story lore and weaving it directly into the early narrative.
Yeah, they're pulling the shadows of the future into the light of the present.
I love that phrasing. And to really understand how this changes the viewer's experience for you, let's look at a scene that fundamentally alters our understanding of a character driven entirely by self-preservation.
Okay, set the scene.
Picture the Shellstown Marine Base. From the first season, we know this is where Zoro cut down the Baroque Works agent Mr. 7. Now, Nico Robin, known to the world as the Devil's Child, arrives to investigate alongside Mr. 5 and Miss Valentine. But the visual presentation just immediately stops you in your tracks.
It really does.
She isn't wearing her standard early series outfit. She is wearing this iconic, sleek, black bodycon dress.
Which is huge.
It is. It's a piece of wardrobe that observant fans know belongs to the much later, heavily emotional Water 7 arc.
It is such a brilliant visual shorthand. By putting her in that specific dress, the cinematic language is telling the audience right away, this isn't just an introductory villain of the week.
No, not at all.
This is the fully realized, deeply traumatized woman from Water 7 operating right in front of us.
And her actions back that up in the most brutal way possible. She unleashes her Hananomi, her flower fruit powers, but she doesn't just playfully disarm the Marines like you might expect.
Far from it.
She mercilessly uses their own limbs against them, forcing them to turn their weapons on each other. It's an absolute bloodbath.
It's terrifying.
It feels like a psychological horror sequence where she is entirely untouchable. But I actually have to push back here for a second.
Okay, go ahead.
In the manga, Robin is introduced with a bit of mystery, sure, but also a certain lightness. Like, she even teases the crew. If you make her a straight-up sadistic murderer here, don't you risk alienating the audience?
That's a fair question.
Doesn't that make her eventual redemption arc feel totally unearned?
See, that is exactly the tightrope the adaptation has to walk. But I would argue it actually makes her redemption far more earned.
Really? How so?
Well, you have to remember the mechanics of television pacing. A live-action audience needs immediate, palpable stakes. If we look closely at how the camera frames her in that base, her cruelty isn't sadism, it's a reflex.
A reflex.
Yes. If you have been relentlessly hunted by the global government since you were an 8-year-old child, your first instinct when walking into a room full of armed Marines isn't to be playful.
Right.
It is to exert absolute lethal control before they can control you. Every calculated, ruthless move she makes is the panicked armor of a woman who has never known safety for 20 years.
Wow. Okay, when you frame it like that the monster in this horror sequence is actually the victim, it completely shifts how you view her later.
Exactly.
Like when she's reporting to Mr. Zero about the rookie pirate with the 30 million berry bounty, she exudes danger, but it's a danger born from a desperate need to survive.
Precisely. She operates under the assumption that everyone will eventually betray her. So she trusts no one.
Which brings up a really fascinating contrast. Robin's entire introduction is built around a cold, solitary self-preservation. But the criminal underworld isn't solely populated by lone wolves out for themselves, is it?
No, it's not.
Let's look at another Baroque Works agent operating in these shadows. Mr. 9, played by Daniel Lasker. Now, If you know the original anime, you know Mr. Nine is basically a walking punchline.
Yeah, he's very goofy.
He's a bumbling comedic foil. But the cinematic lens of the live action transforms him entirely at Whiskey Peak. He holds this terrifying, deeply calculating grudge against Zoro. He spits out the nickname Marimo with genuine venom.
He feels like a legitimate, menacing threat. And again, this is a mechanical necessity for live action. A cartoonish, bumbling henchman breaks the tension in a grounded television scene.
You have to anchor him in real stakes.
Right. But what makes this adaptation so compelling is what they put underneath that newfound menace. Mr. Nine makes his living in a syndicate built on betrayal and assassination. Yet he remains fiercely, almost inexplicably loyal to his partner, Vivi Miss Wednesday.
Even when he discovers she is a spy.
Exactly.
The spy who has infiltrated the organization, and he still supports her.
And that is a profound character choice. We are watching a man who is surrounded by the selfish survival tactics of people like Robin, and he actively chooses devotion.
It's incredible.
His loyalty to the Princess of Alabasta isn't born of contractual duty. It is an unspoken respect that transcends his role as a mere henchman. He is willing to sacrifice his own safety for hers.
It's a beautiful contradiction. You have Robin surviving through complete detachment and Mr. Nine finding his humanity through attachment. And they're both navigating the exact same violent underworld.
They are.
But, the rules of this violent present weren't written by them. The true crushing weight of this world is dictated by the ghosts of the past, which takes us away from Whiskey Peak and into a quiet, incredibly tense flashback.
The jail cell.
The cold stone jail cell right before the ultimate execution.
It's such a heavy scene.
It is. Goldie Roger, the Pirate King, sits across from his longtime rival, the Marine hero Garp. For anyone paying close attention, the dialogue here is an absolute bombshell.
Oh, absolutely.
Roger casually refers to Garp as the hero of God Valley. Now, for context for you listening, the God Valley incident is a massive piece of world building that isn't fully detailed until the Marineford arc, years and years down the line in the source material.
And placing that specific title in this cramped, dimly lit cell, it changes the entire atmosphere of the room.
It really does.
We aren't just watching a generic cop and a generic robber having a final chat. We're watching two weary titans who have clashed across the Grand Line countless times, acknowledging the shared trauma of a legendary battle.
Okay, wait. I have to play devil's advocate here.
Sure.
If you are a brand new viewer tuning into this show, the phrase hero of God Valley means absolutely nothing to you. It's just like proper noun soup. Why risk confusing the new audience with a lore drop that won't actually pay off for, 6 or 7 seasons?
Because it isn't about the literal information, it's about the atmospheric weight.
Okay, explain that.
Think of it like walking through an ancient city. You don't need to know the exact history of every crumbling pillar to feel the weight of the centuries around you.
That's a great analogy.
By dropping God Valley, the showrunners are signaling to the new viewer that this world is deeply lived in. This isn't the beginning of history. It is merely the middle of an ongoing massive tapestry, and it recontextualizes the emotional dynamic between the two men. Roger asks Garp to take care of his unborn child.
And Garp naturally scoffs at it. I mean, he points out the obvious. He is a Marine, sworn to uphold the law, and Roger is a criminal.
But Roger just smiles. He counters that the so-called good guy is the one currently leading him to the execution stand.
Wow.
It shatters the black and white morality of the universe right in the opening chapters. This isn't just a clash of titles, it is a profound testament to an absolute trust built through bloodshed.
Trust built through bloodshed.
Yes. These are two opposing forces who have fought so bitterly that they are the only ones capable of recognizing the vulnerable humanity beneath their respective uniforms.
That is such a heavy, defining concept for this series. But history isn't just whispered in dark jail cells, is it? Sometimes it is quite literally carved in stone.
Very true.
Let's move the cinematic lens to the island of Little Garden. We leave the claustrophobia of the cell for this lush, sprawling, prehistoric expanse. And there, amidst the jungle, we see these colossal statues carved by the Blue Ogre.
Such a striking image.
We see Brogy, of course, which makes sense for the current arc. But standing right there alongside him are two figures that completely rewrite the scale of this adaptation. Loki, the cursed prince of Elbaf, whose shadowy silhouette we've only ever seen in Big Mom's memories in the manga. and Nika, the sun god.
The sheer audacity of this visual cameo cannot be overstated. I mean, it's massive.
It really is.
By physically carving Loki and Nika into the stone of Little Garden, the live action is planting the narrative seeds for the Elbaf arc and the ultimate legend of the sun god decades in advance of when they become strictly necessary to the plot.
I'm going to stop you right there, because this feels like a passive gamble to me. Showing Nika, the sun god, this early, and Loki.
It is a big swing.
Part of the absolute magic of the manga was that these things were kept in the dark for over 2 decades. It was a slow burn of epic proportions. Aren't they showing their hand way too soon? Doesn't dropping the sun god in season 2 ruin the mystery?
It's a completely valid concern, but it comes back to the difference between reading a serial comic and watching a cinematic television show. If a TV show waits 15 years to introduce a central mythological figure without any prior visual setup, it feels like a cheap retcon to the viewing audience.
Like they just made it up at the last second to solve a plot hole.
Exactly. It feels unearned. But by treating the lore like architectural blueprints, they avoid that. And if we look at the current pulse of the fan base, the timing is immaculate. Well, fans are actively buzzing about the anime's imminent arrival at the Elbaf arc this April, and the manga's rapidly escalating pacing. By showcasing these statues now, the showrunners are looking directly at the audience and promising, we know exactly where this sprawling epic is heading.
They are proving that the end game is already written in the stone of the very first chapters.
Right.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. You are trading the 20-year mystery for a sense of immediate structural trust with the audience.
Exactly.
But let's shift our perspective for a moment. History isn't just shaped by giant statues of gods or pirate kings in jail cells. It is witnessed and often carried by the ordinary people who are just lost in the crowd. People whose lives are forever altered by these legendary fleeting moments.
The people on the ground.
Right. So let's go back to that pouring rain in Logtown.
The execution plaza at night.
Yes. Lightning cracking across the sky. Luffy is trapped on Buggy's execution stand, and he does the unthinkable. He smiles.
It gives you chills.
He smiles in the face of certain death, completely unaware that he is perfectly mirroring Roger's legendary end from 22 years prior. Now, if you are a casual viewer, your eyes are glued to Luffy on that stand. But the camera doesn't just stay on him.
No, it makes a very deliberate, lingering pan across the crowd. It forces us to look at who is watching this echo of history.
You see Bartolomeo. If you haven't read the manga, you probably just thought this was a random extra in a green wig who, moments earlier, clumsily failed to pickpocket Nami.
Right, she even scolded him for being too green, too much of an amateur.
Exactly. But then he looks up. He sees Luffy's smile on that stand, and the camera holds on his face. You can almost see the tectonic plates of his entire worldview shifting in his eyes.
It is a phenomenal character introduction because it happens entirely without dialogue. In a single heartbeat, we watch a street-level thug find his religion.
Oh, that's a powerful way to put it.
He doesn't just see a rookie pirate on a chopping block. He sees a blinding beacon of absolute freedom. That single defiant smile is the catalyst. It transforms a nameless, petty criminal into a devoted fanatic, violently altering the trajectory of his entire life.
And what's brilliant is that he isn't the only face hidden in the shadows of that plaza whose life is bound to the boy on the stand. When Monkey D. Dragon dramatically intervenes to stop Captain Smoker from capturing Luffy, the camera catches another figure in the crowd, Sabo.
And this is where the narrative irony becomes almost too heavy to bear.
It really is agonizing when you know the context. Explain exactly what is happening in this frame for someone who might have missed the implication.
Well, Sabo is standing right there in Logtown. He is looking directly at Luffy. But because of the severe amnesia he suffered from a devastating ship fire 10 years ago, he has absolutely no idea who he is looking at.
It hurts to even think about.
He doesn't know he is watching his beloved, sworn younger brother nearly die. The camera captures them both in the same space, but they're separated by an invisible wall of trauma. Two brothers standing mere feet from one another, entirely blinded to each other's existence by the cruelty of circumstance.
It breaks your heart. You have Bartolomeo, whose life is just beginning because of what he sees in that plaza. And you have Sabo, who is entirely disconnected from his own past in that exact same crowd.
Two completely different trajectories born from the same moment.
The Logtown Plaza separates people by physical space and trauma. But sometimes, the cruelest separator of all isn't a crowd, it's time. Which brings me to our final cameo, I want to shift the scene back in time once more to the torrential, dangerous waters of Reverse Mountain.
A vastly different kind of shadow.
We see Captain Yorkie and a younger, flesh-and-blood Brooke leaving their beloved whale Laboon with the Dr. Crocus. It's a beautifully acted, fully realized flashback, but it's what you hear that completely recontextualizes the moment. Playing softly in the background is a melancholic tune, Bink's Sake.
And that auditory cameo is perhaps the most devastating inclusion of them all. They are establishing this backstory long before the Thriller Bark arc ever occurs in the narrative.
Right, they're playing a song that serves as the emotional climax of an arc that is literally years away from this moment in the story. Why do that?
Because television, unlike a silent manga page, allows for auditory foreshadowing. Bink's Sake isn't just a lively pirate shanty playing in the background to set the mood. It acts as an invisible melodic tether of a broken promise.
An invisible tether.
Yes. When a viewer hears that song now and then hears it again seasons later, their brain will subconsciously connect the two moments. It is a song that is going to echo across 50 agonizing years of total isolation for Brooke.
50 years. Just imagine the weight of that.
It will linger in the fog of the Florian Triangle, desperately waiting for a skeletal musician to finally find his way back home to the whale who never stopped waiting. By playing it here, at the moment of separation, the showrunners are ensuring that the tragedy of that 50-year wait is baked into the very foundation of the story.
I want to slow our pace down entirely right here. Let's just look at the whole board for a second. We have Robin's trauma-induced cruelty at Shellstown. We have Mr. Nine's hidden selfless loyalty at Whiskey Peak. We have the ancient unspoken respect between Roger and Garp in a stone cell, and the literal carved legends of Elbaf on Little Garden.
And the people watching it unfold.
Right. We have the tragic near misses of Bartolomeo and Sabo in the Logtown Rain, and the musical heartbreak of Brooke at Reverse Mountain. This isn't just a studio trying to cram an Easter egg so people will point at their screens and post about it online.
Far from it.
It is a profound argument for adaptation as its own distinct art form. It proves that in a truly realized cinematic world, time isn't a straight line. The haunting past, the violent present, and the legendary future don't just happen one after the other.
They overlap.
They are all coexisting, bleeding into one another, interacting in a single, perfectly crafted frame. It teaches the viewer a brand new visual language, demanding that we watch not just for the action in the foreground, but for the invisible threads of fate tying the background together.
And when a story reveals its endgame ghosts right at the beginning like this, it asks us to reconsider everything we thought we knew about how a narrative unfolds. If heroes with amnesia and legendary sun gods are hiding in plain sight in the very first chapters of this journey, what forgotten ghosts are quietly standing in the background of your own life story, waiting for the right moment to step into the light.
If you enjoy this video, please like, share, subscribe and hit the bell to the latest update from my channel. Thank you for watching till the end and see you in the next video.